Check this out and listen up, because some piping hot news just dropped out of Motown, and you won't hear this just anywhere. The buzz in Detroit is electric, and every bit of news that's hit over the last few days cuts right to the heart of the Lions Nation. It's that water cooler talk, but with exclusive, homegrown info the way we like it here in the Motor City. Ford Field is buzzing just thinking about what's to come. You know that feeling when you smell smoke and you know there's a fire nearby? Hold on tight. Are some big changes really on the way? And let's start with this one that caught a lot of people off guard. Remember all that talk about Zadarius Smith possibly getting back into Honolulu Blue? Well, the smoke was thick, but the truth is Brad Holmes made it crystal clear there are no conversations with him right now. And honestly, I was a little torn when I heard that. Because on one hand, we know Smith came to Detroit, fit in well, and showed he wanted to be part of something bigger. The guy openly talked about how much he loved being on a franchise that's finally breathing victory. But on the other hand, he's a veteran. Not the same explosive pass rusher he was a few years ago, and missing an entire training camp is a huge deal. Holmes was very direct. There are no guaranteed spots here for anyone. If it means falling below the 53-man roster, so be it, but he's not just going to plug someone in to fill a hole. And I'll tell you, that's a sign of seriousness, something we didn't see in past eras. The guy is building a genuinely competitive roster. Proof of that was adding 2 defenders right after, Tyler Lacey and Tyrus Wheat. Young guys, hungry, ready to prove themselves. This shows the philosophy is clear. Give a chance to those who deserve it. Now, you know what really got me? Smith's nephew, wide receiver Jackson Meeks, got on the practice squad, and both the uncle and nephew have publicly said they dream of playing together. Man, imagine that scene at Ford Field. The stadium would be a madhouse. But for now, it's just a distant dream. And the Lions Nation is divided on this one too. You have fans in the group saying, "Come on, bring the guy back, we need depth at edge." Others are standing their ground. Leave it alone, let's bet on the young guys and the ones who went through camp. And it's precisely this division that shows the franchise is in a different place. It's no longer desperation for a veteran, it's about strategy. Deep down I get Holmes. New defensive coordinator, new ideas, maybe a different vision for the pass rush. You can't live on nostalgia or good intentions alone. The truth is Smith might come back in 2025, but today, there's no movement at all. Now, hold on, because the next piece of news is going to heat up this conversation about reinforcements and roster depth even more. It's going to hit our offensive line directly. All right, hold up, because now the conversation shifts sides and we're talking about the offensive line. And I'll tell you, Motor City, this name that popped up on the preseason cuts list had me scratching my head. Connor McDermott. The guy was with the Texans, got cut after a very short time, but he's that big veteran who can absolutely bring some size and experience to our offense. We're talking 6'8", 306 pounds, 55 career games, 17 as a starter. That's not nothing, especially in a division like the NFC North, where the trench warfare is a daily grind. And the best part for us? McDermott comes with contract flexibility, so he's not one of those vets who's going to suck up the salary cap. On the contrary, you can bring the guy in without busting the cap, fit him into the group, and still have room for other moves during the season. And let's be real, with all the young talent we have, Hutchinson, Gibbs, Branch, Arnold, it's essential to surround these guys with veterans who have felt the weight of big games. I know some fans are turning up their noses. Oh, Marcus, the guy isn't a star, never been to the Pro Bowl, why bring him in? But listen, let me remind you of something. Teams that go far need depth. They need that solid guy in the rotation who can step in, hold things down, and not drop the ball. McDermott is exactly that profile. He won't be in the headlines every Sunday, but he'll be the type of player who, when called upon, does the dirty work and keeps the quarterback upright. And I'll go a step further. Dan Campbell loves this type of player. Guys who come in hungry, with no fluff, and with a willingness to train hard and be a positive force in the locker room. Campbell's philosophy is clear. Mix youth with veterans who bring stability and leadership. And on that point, McDermott fits like a glove. In the Lions Nation groups, people are already commenting in droves. This is the kind of addition we need, not a star, but he makes a difference for the team. And I agree, man. We've seen many seasons fall apart because the offensive line couldn't handle the pressure. We can't repeat that mistake. So keep your eyes open. If Brad Holmes pulls the trigger on this one, it's a smart tactical and strategic move, and it doesn't come at a high price. Now hold tight, because the next piece of news will stir up the offense even more. There's a wide receiver on the market who could be a game changer. My friends, this one is already starting to fire up the imagination of the fans. You know who just became available? Kendrick Bourne, that wide receiver who was with the Patriots. The guy asked to be released, wasn't finding a spot there in New England, and now he's available. And listen, I'll be honest with you. The moment I heard this, I immediately thought about how well he would fit in our offense led by John Morton. Bourne is 29, has over 100 games under his belt, runs clean routes, is reliable in the slot, can line up outside, and especially on third downs. He's exactly the type of player who gives a quarterback peace of mind. And let's be real, Jared Goff needs more experienced weapons. We have the youth, we have the talent, but we're missing someone who brings that gravitas of having faced tough moments in the league. And it's not just on the field. What gets me is the locker room side of things. Bourne has a reputation for being a hard worker, a leader, a guy who helps the younger players grow, and with this young group Detroit is molding. Hutchinson, Gibbs, Branch, Arnold, that presence could be pure gold. Dan Campbell values exactly this profile: competitive, engaged, and willing to sweat for every yard. Now there's a detail that makes it all even more interesting. Since the Patriots already absorbed part of his contract, any team that signs him will have flexibility. In other words, it wouldn't be a heavy move for our cap. This puts the Lions in a privileged position. We can offer an immediate impact role without compromising the finances. In the Lions Nation groups, that heated debate is already going on. Some say, this is the guy who will complete our receiving core. Others are more cautious. Is it worth betting on a guy who's coming off an injury and lost his role? But I say, sometimes it's exactly this type of bet that changes a season. A player who wants to prove he still has gas in the tank is dangerous for the opponent. And there's more. Think about the message this would send to the rest of the league. Detroit isn't just building a young and promising team, but also bringing in leadership pieces to aim high. You don't win a Super Bowl with talent alone, you win with balance. So, if Holmes decides to go for Bourne, it could be a strategic move for the medium and long term. But hold on, because the next piece of news sheds light on our secondary and involves a big name on the market. Alright, the conversation now drops right into our secondary, and I'll tell you, this is the kind of talk that leaves the Lions Nation divided. The name that surfaced is Asante Samuel Jr. Yes, the cornerback who left the Chargers after a very complicated season due to a back injury. The guy had a $7 million contract, and before this physical problem, many people were projecting that he would sign a big long-term deal. But then, boom, back surgery, uncertainty about his return, and suddenly he becomes a potential target on the market. And you know what's curious? A lot of people in the media are already talking about it being a steal. Like if his recovery goes well, it could be a massive find because we know the talent is there. In 4 years in the league, 50 games, almost all as a starter, 6 interceptions, over 170 tackles. Solid numbers for someone who is still young and has already shown a refined football IQ. Now, on the side of the diehard fan, doubt creeps in. Because, let's be honest, Motor City, is it worth betting on a guy who doesn't even have a defined return date yet? He's supposed to have another exam in October, which will then clear him or not for the second half of the season. So it's not an immediate move. It would be a play for the final stretch of the season. And I'm torn. On one hand, we have a young and aggressive secondary that has already shown improvement. Kirby Joseph, Branch, Daniel Thomas coming in now. The group is fitting together well. But on the other hand, you can never have too much experience, especially in big playoff games. Samuel could be exactly that missing ingredient, helping the young guys and also being an option on the field if he comes back at a high level. In the Lions Nation groups, I've seen it all. Fans saying, bring him in now, he's too talented to pass up, and others saying, leave it alone, trust what we have. Brad Holmes, from what he's shown so far, isn't in a hurry. He even left a spot open on the final roster, precisely to have movement flexibility. And that makes me think I wouldn't doubt at all that Detroit is already watching, just waiting for the medical report. And the spiciest detail, while everyone is looking at the secondary, there's still the pass rush issue. Hutchinson is there, but he's missing that partner on the other side. The fans are asking for it. The media is demanding it. So is investing in Samuel the best move right now? That's the question that will keep burning until October. But hold on, because the last piece of news on the list brings a double dose of hope and emotion, with a promise of the future coming back to knock on the door. Now it's time to talk about a name that honestly caught everyone off guard when he was waived. Rookie Ahmed Hassanin, the defensive end drafted in the 6th round, had shown interesting flashes in the preseason. He had 6 tackles, 2 pressures, and seemed to be slowly gaining ground. But then he got that pectoral injury against Miami and boom, waived with an injury settlement. The fans were speechless. What? Is the kid already done? That was the initial feeling. But listen, Brad Holmes was quick to put an end to the rumors. Bottom line, he's going to be a Detroit Lion again. Those were the words of our general manager. And to be honest with you, that calmed me down. Because deep down, we saw that the team was invested in this kid. No one wanted to believe his story was going to end before it even began. The move was strategic, not using the injured reserve spot, but releasing him via an injury settlement. This opens the door for him to come back sooner when he's healthy. without tying up a roster spot, and Holmes made it clear that the prognosis is positive. In other words, in a few weeks he could be back at practice, ready to start his journey again. And I'll tell you, this news got to the heart of the fans, because Detroit has always had that Motor City vibe, giving a chance to those who fight, to those who grind. Hassanein is exactly that profile. He's not a star, not a first-round name, but he shows grit and determination. And man, that type of player quickly wins over Ford Field. In the Lions Nation groups, the talk was strong. This kid is going to come back hungry, he's going to want to prove himself. And I agree. The injury stinks, of course, but it's not the end of the line. If he comes back in the middle of the season, he'll come in with fire in his eyes, wanting to show what he can do. And on a team that is still looking for depth on the defensive line, this could be a powerful internal reinforcement. Holmes played it cool, calculated well, and made it clear. The plan is to have Hassanein back. And if the GM speaks with such confidence, I'm a believer. Because he doesn't just say things to hear himself talk. So, Motor City, keep that flame alive. The kid will be back, and when that happens, it could be that extra push we need for the final stretch. So, after all that, it gives you chills to think about what this team is going through. It's no longer that lost Lions team. It's a solid Detroit, full of promising young players and firm decisions from the front office. With every move, you can feel that Motor City football is building something real, with blood, sweat, and vision. The Lions Nation knows this is the time to truly believe. Now I want to hear from you, the die-hard fan. Comment with your take, because this virtual bleacher is our home. One pride, always together until the next chat.